Welcome. It did no countdown. It just jumped right in. The update to StreamYard must have changed. Welcome to the 7 o'clock talk. And we've had a question about the cervical spine. So we're going to take a moment to go over the cervical spine and its importance. And one of the things that's awesome about nature is the web. Everything is connected to everything else. Through my journey getting certified for the IFM, they really point out hi, Kath. They really point out how everything is connected. And then as we have worked on patients, Jessica is incredibly passionate about hormones and hormonal health, both men and women. And what we have seen is that hormones affect the mitochondria, which affect the energy production, which affects the ability for the body to digest and move things. And so that web is intimately entwined. And when we talk about the cervical spine, the biggest thing to remember is all the information for you to move, talk, heartbeat, whatever, all of that starts in the brain and then travels down the spine. So the higher up that you have a subluxation or something going on, the more that you can affect downstream. And there's supposed to be a curve, a lordotic curve in the cervical spine. And if that curve is off, what happens?
Well, you get headaches, you get tingling, numbness, but most of our people are losing that because this is what they do all day long.
Yes. And so the cervical spine itself gets straightened. And see these little red things right here? They actually travel all the way down the cervical spine inside the bony border. And if things get twisted and rotated, then blood supply that goes into the brain via the circle of Willis, not that you'll ever have to know that, but that's what that goes into the brain. That's the vertebrobasilar artery, and then it creates the circle of Willis. And that feeds the brain all of its blood. And down in here in the C3, 4, 5, 6, T1 area, that controls all the nerves that go down into the arm, shoulder, and wrist. And what are the things that you'll suffer from if this area is messed up?
The numbness and tingling in your hands, like mimics carpal tunnel. You'll get weakness.
The shoulder can ache, the elbow can ache. And that's all because these nerves, well, the ones up here, these all start to feed your thyroid, and they can feed the submandibular glands, your parotids. Then the blood supply that comes up and goes through here all affects everything that's up in the head, trigeminal nerve, and things of that nature. And so it's very important that the integrity of this be maintained. And if it can't be maintained, it's very important to get it as close as possible. Because remember how everything is related. And what happens if you have a curve that's out and allows you to move too much? And then the blood supply is off. And then the nerve supply is off. You're starting to add those bricks into the backpack that start to cause issues, allowing the body to be out of homeostasis, or it increases body burden. And then that will give you what Jessica was talking about, the headaches. It'll give you, it could be ringing in the ears, it could be blurry vision, any number of things. So the more that you can keep your structure in shape, and we use something here called a dinerol to help reform the curve in the lower spine. To do the curve in the upper spine, you got to do something a little different. But that's all part of relaxing or easing body burden. And so, what are things that you can think that I'm not speaking about that I've forgotten about or forgotten to mention?
Regarding,
Cervical spine, brain health, function,
did you
anything.
mention your exercises that kind of help bring that back into alignment that everybody can do? Backing up against the wall with the head and the shoulders.
So if you lost the curve in the cervical spine, especially in the lower cervical spine, using an orthotic called the Denerol, um, the next thing is a straight cervical spine leaves you at increased risk of having a bad whiplash, because when you're straight, these muscles and ligaments are already stretched, and you can stretch them, overstretch them, and cause bigger issues. Um, if it's too much, then you close in the facet joints. And so what Jessica is talking about is paying attention to your posture, because if you have a closed posture and all of a sudden you bring the shoulders in and the shoulders droop and you close down like this.
And women do this all the time, especially young girls, because they lack what's the word, confidence. So they bring themselves and they try to make themselves smaller. It's
Especially if
insecurity.
they're busty. I mean, if they're busty, they really try some
You
of them.
really need to open up your shoulders and set your head back.
So I'll put this over here. And one of the things to do is to get against a wall. And when you get against the wall, your heels should touch, your butt should touch, your shoulders should touch, and then you're going to bring that head and you're going to force the head back. And when you force the head back, it's going to feel unnatural. And then you want to walk away and try to hold that position for as long as you can. And that, if that's really uncomfortable, then you can do things to work on translating that head back. You can also lay on you can also lay on a bed and let your head hang over the edge of the bed so that the neck gets extended and you start to stretch that more anyway. But a lot of your issues with carpal tunnel, numbness and tingling in the fingers, weakness in the arms, the shoulders, and stuff like that, a lot of that actually begins in the cervical spine. And so carpal tunnel, headaches, blurry vision, tinnitus in the ears, you take those things and then you add in stress and food allergies and inflammation, and then the body just starts to break down. And that's when you get people, they used to have a thing they called the pain gate theory. And pain gate theory, as I was taught it, was your body can only perceive one major pain stimulus at a time. And if you have pain here, and then you have pain here, and you have pain in the back, and you have pain in the knees, if you have pain all over, the body burden that you have is too great. And we can do stuff for the neck and start to breathe. We can take x-rays, we can see what's going on in there, and then we can start to bring this back so that your body balances the weight of the head over the rest of the spine. Because you have to think about this. If I had you take a bowling ball and hold it right here, the bowling ball, you can hold it there over your center of gravity all day long. But if I have you take it and extend it out and try to hold it, then all of a sudden that becomes a much different proposition. And why is that? Because you've changed the lever. And the lever is no different. When the head goes forward, it transfers all the weight to the neck. This causes stress in the shoulders and in the pectoralis muscles. And then ultimately that goes to the low back. And as the head translates forward, the back wants to go backwards because it wants to keep your head over the pelvis. And do you see how this is happening? That's when you start to see that hunched over person. That's why that is so very important, and why when we work on people, we are putting in, we're going to do chiropractic because we can relieve stress on the body and bring back ranges of motion. We bring in IVs because what do your IVs do for inflammation and nutritional deficiencies?
Well, they decrease inflammation and provide the body with the nutrition it needs to heal.
And so that releases a body burden on the body because you have enough nutrition. And it can also, what's glutathione do?
It's an antioxidant, so it helps detoxify the body.
And so if you're giving the body exogenous glutathione, that also helps relieve body burden. Vitamin C will help relieve stress on the adrenals, helps the immune system,
Marvelous for the skin.
and the amino acids and the things in there help with the muscles so that you can make the proteins that you have to make. I really hope you all are starting to see how it all ties together. And that's why when we do our initial workup on people for functional medicine, that's why we do all of those tests all at once, because your headaches could be because of the spine, it could be because of biochemistry, and we want to address all of that. We want to relieve as much body burden as we can, and that's why we're going to start to with with people that come in, we're going to work on doing a functional medicine program with them from the get-go. And that way they can do the chiropractic, they can do the acupuncture, they can do the IVs, they can do all of this, because that's when we see the greatest benefit.
Well, and they can take that and then go home and incorporate their own workouts.
Yep.
Get moving.
And we're working on, if you're local, we're working on an agreement with a couple of the gyms around to have them have somebody take people through a balance workout, take people through a weight workout, a heavy workout, because we all have to have those. And we are so sedentary. The curse of modern civilization, besides the food system, I would say the food system is the number one curse of modern civilization. The second curse of modern civilization is how sedentary we are, because we do not move enough at all. And I mean, if, and even I am losing muscle, and I haven't been working out because I've been studying and I'm ready to get back to it. But the problem is I went and just did simple yoga. And because my neck is messed up, I can't stretch my neck as far as I'm supposed to be able to do. And the amount of weakness I've just experienced from that. Jessica's dealing with her own physical issues. And that's why you have to take care of all of this stuff, because if you wait for something to break.
Well, and you don't even know you're broken if you don't go in and get an assessment every once in a while.
Yeah. And that's something that people really need to think about.
You don't even know lost function.
You need to get x-rays once a year just to see how things are doing. You should get ranges of motion at least once a year. And then those basic tests that we do for functional medicine, they're baseline health. And then you can start to address everything and not break. And that's the thing, is we don't want you to break, whether it's the cervical spine, the lumbar spine, thoracic spine, or your health in general, your biochemistry, your physiology. We don't want your hormones to break, your immune system to break. We don't want your energy system to break. We don't want your digestive system to break. And there's a lot of things actively working against your health in society in this day and age. And the only way to battle that is to become informed and take care of your own health. Don't expect doctors, medical doctors, to save you. Because by the time you need a doctor and you go in, then you broke something. And don't wait. Sorry for the kind of doom and gloom. I don't typically like to be that way, but I am pretty passionate about checking yourself out. I mean, I didn't know that I had issues with my cholesterol a couple of years ago until I actually just on a whim checked it out. And that happens to a lot of people. They just wait and wait and wait until all of a sudden they're broke and they need somebody to help them fix themselves. And it's a lot of work. So, on that cheerful note, this has been the 7 o'clock talk, and we've talked about the spine and tried to weave in why it's important to take care of a lot of that stuff. And we look forward to seeing you next week.